What is up, you sexy motherfuckers? This is Base Jalarin, and today I'm coming to bring you a new video, which is my manga haul. As you can see, all the books are arranged right here beside me, not in my closet because I don't fucking feel like it. It's a mess in there. I still need to move things because I just did, as you saw in my last video, a pretty substantial unhaul, which, yes, was one of the things that I did this month. Another thing that I did this month was, of note, was that I actually co-hosted in Lohali's sort of video podcast thing that he hosts here on YouTube called Manga Club, and that was fun. And if you were there to watch me psychotically just move around on screen in my closet, thanks for showing up. I might show up in the future. We haven't planned out anything yet, but I'm really very willing to, so yeah, watch out for that potential business whenever the fuck we decide to do that. But this was also the month that I got incredibly fucking sick. As you can tell, I'm still getting over, like, some bullshit. Like, I have a cough, and right before that, I had this awful fucking cold, which, right after Manga Club, actually, I got fucking pink eye in both my eyes. But don't you worry, I'm medicated now, so it's getting better, obviously. Maybe, as you can see by the video quality. Maybe you can't. But, yeah, so that was a thing. My immune system was certainly tested this February, but hopefully March will be a lot better. But for now, let's just get on to the fucking manga. Let's do this shit today. And I'm sorry if my camera's moving. It is precariously placed on a perfect grade box and not on a tripod like a smart person would put their shit on. So, first up, I got Volume 10 of Mobile Suit Gundam Wing Endless Waltz Glory of the Losers, mostly just to catch myself up because Volume 11 is coming out in March, so I figured I'd try to stay less behind than I already am to just avoid the stress of it all. Next up is something that I was very, very excited for. So my favorite anime of all time, 100% full stop, is Yurikuma Arashi. And last year, around, I think this was right before Anime Expo, Tokyo Pop actually announced that they had acquired the licensing rights to Yurikuma Arashi, which I'm sure was a big downer for everybody because nobody trusts Tokyo Pop, and I understand. But I just could not stay away. Yurikuma Arashi is my fucking lifeblood, so when they finally released it, I had to get it. And the funny thing is that they kind of partially translated the title into Yuri Bear Storm, which, honestly, they should have just gone all the way if they were going to translate the title. They should have just gone balls deep and just called it Lesbian Bear Storm. No, yeah, just Lesbian Bear Storm. Just commit. But this honestly really surprised me because I think the art is done by the character designer for the anime, and she was given like almost complete total creative control over the manga adaptation. So the manga adaptation almost very purposefully differentiates itself from the anime almost completely. It is a completely different story from the anime, which is honestly really refreshing. I was honestly expecting sort of just a one-for-one sort of adaptation of the anime with some like differences thrown in, but this is a completely different story. So there's no way of telling how this is going to go and how it's going to end, which is great. And I honestly really do appreciate the originality and the difference between the anime and the manga. Also, the woman who illustrated the manga is gay, so that's fucking cool, and I could feel it resonating from every page. My girl-loving books are falling. I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. My girl-loving senses were tingled. Another thing that I picked up from Tokyo Pop was just Konohana Kitan Volume 3, which is just some cute, calming nonsense. I'm just into it because I'm just a big old fan of the animal ears. Just hear me out. Animal ears is my shit. I love cute animal ears on cute girls, so this fills that niche for me. So that's why I'm continuing to collect this. I understand if people don't really find it to be their cup of tea. It's not exactly the most exciting story in the world, but I'm enjoying it all the same. Now to get to the books that fucking dropped onto the floor, excuse me. First we just have Grand Blue Dreaming, Volume 4. I haven't gotten into this one yet, but as I always say, I'm very excited to, because I absolutely adore Grand Blue Dreaming. It is the funniest shit. Probably one of the most funny manga I've read in recent memory, and so I'm very excited to dig into Volume 4. And we also have Volume 5 of Tokyo Terereba Girls, which, holy shit, I'm pretty sure people have mentioned this already, but Dad Ending though. My cat's jumped up on the bed, I'm really sorry. That fucking ending. I gotta wait till Volume 6 to figure out the conclusion to the shit that gets dropped at the end of Volume 5. So, yeah, I just gotta sit around on my hands and wait for that. Next up, we have Laid Back Camp, Volume 5. I love this manga, but also it's something I discovered recently, is that this is a very difficult manga to read after you get home from work and you are absolutely fucking freezing because it's cold and snowy and gross outside. Because you got all these characters and they're all snuggly warm and they're all camping outside outdoors in the winter time, and all you can think about is like, oh, it's cold, I hate the cold. And as comfy as it is to read when you're like in your pajamas snuggled up like on your bed, it's really hard to read when you're freezing cold and uncomfortable after work, because all you can think of is like, wow, those camping conditions that they're in must be very chilly, and all you can think about is the chill. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just a unique thing my brain does, but whatever. Next up we have Hakume and Mikochi, Volume 4. I love this manga so much. Not a lot of like fun, not a lot of like action or like suspense happens, but the illustrations that are in here are absolutely wonderful. The world is just a beautifully detailed, very unique universe, and the illustrations that accompany it, like the stuff on the back, are just absolutely fucking breathtaking. And just the world gets built up with every single little illustration that this manga author provides. It is a beautiful treat for the senses. If you ever get the chance, please pick up Hakume and Mikochi, and it's a great manga to read slowly, to ingest bit by bit, because you just want to take in all the little details of this beautiful, calming world that Takuto Kashiki has created. It is wonderful. Next up, I tried to stay away from buying a lot of Volume 1s this month. Obviously there was Yuri Kuma Arashi, but I tried very hard not to pick up that many Volume 1s, because like I said in the beginning of the year, I'm trying to buy less, even though less is in comparison to ridiculous amounts, so now it's like a normal ridiculous amount. But I'd had to pick up this Volume 1 because I love this series so much, and of course I had to buy the spin-off, and that's Kakegurui Twin, which is a sort of prequel manga to Kakegurui, featuring our girl Mary, which I'm really interested to see how this story is going to go and how long it lasts, because this is a prequel series and you're introduced to all these characters and all this sort of character development that Mary goes through prior to Kakegurui, when she's sort of introduced as sort of like a 2-bit villain in the very beginning. And she's introduced with all these other side characters, and you have to wonder where all that's going to go, where all these other characters are going to wind up at the end of the story, so that we can go into Kakegurui as Mary is at that point. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the fuck happens to everybody in Twin because of the context we have with reading Kakegurui. Next up, surprisingly, I actually caught up to the release of Sekirei, so I have Sekirei Volume 7. I'm really trying to, because there's a couple of series that I'm a good 1 or 2 volumes behind on that I really need to catch up on, because I'm just so far behind and it's causing me so much stress, even though it was my damn fault and I decided to do that. But I decided to pick up Sekirei Volume 7, and I'm going to try my best to pick up other volumes that I'm behind on in March. Next up, I think I'm going to sneeze. We have Girls Last Tour. Actually, there it is, Volume 6, which is the final volume, I do believe. It says right there, final, of Girls Last Tour. The ending is very somber and somewhat ambiguous as to what happens to these girls at the very end, but I'm really glad we were brought along for this journey. The ending, like I said, the ending is very somber and not exactly all that happy a one, but it's satisfying, and that's the key point. That's the shit right there. But if you haven't read Girls Last Tour yet, this is another manga that I have to recommend, especially. Since now we know that it's 6 volumes long, so it's not that long, but it is a very atmospheric sort of story that you will not regret reading from beginning to end and going along for this ride, this last tour of these 2 girls. It was a beautiful story. Next up, we just have the next volume of Forbidden Scrollery, Volume 6. I just love the art in this. It's like, I mentioned this on Twitter with among friends. It's a perfect mix of being beautiful illustration and just being absolutely to die for cute. And it's just a really interesting story about like demons and yokai and ghosts and stuff like that, all featuring Toho characters if that's what you're into. But I personally dig the shit out of it. Next up, we just have the next volume of Black Torch, Volume 3. I'm loving this series, and it's really unfortunate that it's only 5 volumes, and it's only 5 volumes because it was cancelled, which leads me to believe that the ending might not be what I'd hope it would be, and that somewhere down the line it's going to lose its luster, which is really depressing. It's when we get these series that are short and we find out like, oh, it's because it was cancelled, and it sort of colors how you read the story. Instead of like reading it like it's an ongoing thing, you read it like, oh, eventually this is going to go downhill, eventually this is going to stop being fun, and then it's going to just wind down awkwardly, which is really unfortunate. But I fucking love Black Torch right now at Volume 3. It's just a really unfortunate context to read Black Torch in, which is sad. Next up, we have Ran in the Grey World, Volume 2. I like this. I just want to preface, I like this manga. The illustration work, absolutely stunning. Especially the stuff on, like, the cover is beautiful. I love the art, the story, the world that this whole place takes place in is really interesting and cool. I like it. It's unique. It's great. It's fun. But, oh my god. It's the fact that our character is this grade school girl, and she has the magical ability to transform into this busty, very beautiful, probably high school aged woman. And she meets this sort of like goofy, really like odd rich guy, and the first fucking chapter of this manga sort of returns to that, which is the thing that made the first volume uncomfortable. It immediately leaps right back the fuck into that, and immediately she's telling him like, don't touch me, do not touch me without my permission, stop touching me, and he keeps fucking touching her. he keeps fucking hugging her and trying to kiss her, and you're constantly in the back of your head. This is already uncomfortable because there's this girl and she's like, do not touch me, do not touch me. And this guy's like, I'm gonna touch you anyway. Don't I get a hug? One of those kinds of, oh, fuckers. And then it's the added bonus of she's a child. She's a little kid. It's just, like the only saving grace is that the dude gets his, like, karmic comeuppance along the way in this volume, which I will not go into detail about because that's spoilers. But he does kind of get karmic justice for this inappropriate behavior, but you still have to suffer through the inappropriate behavior, and it's a perfect combination of this cool and interesting story about magic and about mages and just cool magic shit, and it's peppered with the most uncomfortable bullshit. I don't know. I'm going to keep going because I love the art and I love the world and I love just the story, but I hate the uncomfortable parts where Ran is treated like this really beautiful, buxom woman, and she's a child, and she keeps having to tell older men not to touch her. Next up we have Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt Volume 10. This series has gone on a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I don't know how much longer it's going to go on for, but I'm a very bad judge of these things, so I can never tell you. But one thing that I really, really do appreciate is that almost with every volume, there's really glossy color pages in the middle, which I really like. It adds some nice flavor to the manga. Next up we have Golden Kamuy Volume 8, which has my favorite fucking scene, where we meet a little boy whose name pretty much translates out to erect penis, but that's probably like my favorite fucking scene because it's hilarious. Golden Kamuy is this strange amalgamation of just different things, and despite how you wouldn't think that something that's like part cooking manga, part action, part comedy, part period piece wouldn't work, but it makes it work all the same, volume after volume, and I love it very, very much. Next up, we have Ruby, the Official Comic Anthology, Volume 4, which features Yang. I'm pretty sure this is the last one. I have heard no buzz about this continuing on with either side characters or something, but it's something that I'd really like to see. Like, if we ever get one of these comic anthologies, say, with other teams, that would be really fucking cool. I'd really like to see comic anthologies featuring other characters within the story, but for now, I'll be satisfied with just the comic anthology of the Ruby team. And as is the usual, as is the required thing to say about the series, is that it's definitely not something that you should use as introductory material for Ruby. Go watch the show, or there's a one-volume manga that sort of takes the initial sort of trailers for Ruby that we got way back in the day and sort of adapts them into manga form. That's also something that I'd recommend, but the Ruby comic anthology is more of something for pre-established fans, considering that the artists within the anthology aren't exactly well known. They're all just pretty much Pixiv artists that you've never heard of unless you're on Pixiv. It's this more goofy sort of Ruby nonsense that you'd get sort of as a supplementary material to your current enjoyment of the show. So if you're looking into getting into Ruby and you want to look into manga, please look into the single volume Ruby and maybe just straight up watching the show before getting into the comic anthology, because I feel like you have to have a pre-established enjoyment of Ruby in order to fully enjoy these, because otherwise there's not a lot of substance there for you to enjoy. Next up, this is a really, really big, really cool release on Viz's part, and that is it's an omnibus. This is a 2-in-1, and that is for Urusei Yatsura. Now this was I think this was announced around the same time they announced the Banana Fish reprint, which is really, really fucking cool, because Urusei Yatsura is a very, very, very old Viz license. They published this back when they were publishing manga in flipped floppy comic format, like it was like an actual like American comic that was released on like a weekly basis, and it was also collected in their really, really old like collections where they never numbered their stuff. They sort of put a title, slapped a title on it, and you were supposed to just figure out what order to read them in, I think. But Viz being willing to delve deep in their really old comics library and resurrect something like this is honestly really cool, and it gives me a lot of hope that it's something they'd be willing to do in the future. I know that they did this very specifically, probably like, it's all very contextual. I know they reprinted Banana Fish because the anime was being aired. They reprinted Urusei Yatsura unflipped in this really cool omnibus because the author Rumiko Takahashi was inducted into like the Eisner Hall of Fame or something. It's all very contextual, and they have to have a reason to do it. But this just shows that they're willing to do it, and that is cool as shit, and I'd like to see them do it again with a lot of their older titles that they've sort of left to rot in their ancient library of stuff. I'd really, really fucking love to see just a lot of their older stuff that's really hard to acquire and really out of print, and bring it into the modern era. That would be fucking cool. My body would be so ready for that sort of thing. But like I said, they kind of have to have some incentive. Something has to be going on to make that sort of thing relevant. I'm going to very carefully adjust the camera, because there's going to be eventually a time where I'm not even going to be in frame because the camera keeps fucking shaking. Next up we have... Okay, I thought that was a stain. No, it's a part of the artwork. Full Metal Alchemist Full Metal Edition Volume 4. I think this covers up to, since they're like a volume and a half long, I think this covers up to like Volume 6. But I'm absolutely loving this series. This is probably one of the most high quality things Viz has put out in a really long time, and we're very lucky to receive such a high quality release for such a wonderful series from a wonderful author who creates beautiful, excellent stories. But yeah, if you can't afford the Full Metal Alchemist Full Metal Edition, no one's going to be judging you. But if you are a pre-established fan of Full Metal Alchemist and you want to enjoy Full Metal Alchemist again and want to just pay the most beautiful homage to this wonderful series, this is fucking great. 100% loving it. Next up, we have what I feel like is an end of an era, sort of, and that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders Volume 10, which is the final volume of Stardust Crusaders, which is going to lead us into Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, and we can finally see my beautiful son Josuke in a English published work and not on scans online. Dwang. But I feel like this in particular, this is honestly a very magical moment, because for the longest time before they started releasing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in these Jojonium volumes, was Stardust Crusaders was the only piece of JoJo we ever had in, I don't even know if it was complete or not, I can't even remember, but for the longest time, Stardust Crusaders was all we had here in the West in published form. And now we're back at that point again, and it's just really, really cool to think that we're going to see beyond what we originally had before. And I can't thank Viz enough for giving JoJo's another go with its reestablished popularity with the anime and such. But I'm very, very excited to see JoJo's continue past to the point where we were sort of just left for so very long. And like I said, I can't wait. Part 4 is my favorite. Josuke is my son. And I honestly really love the design for the volumes for Part 4 because they don't have a Jojonium edition. But I'm very, very excited, and I can't wait, my dudes. Next up, we just have To Love Ru, volumes 11 and 12 in the Omnibus. Just keeping up to date with this. And I'm slowly coming to the conclusion that I'm probably going to eventually pick up To Love Ru Darkness, because I'm loving To Love Ru, and honestly, To Love Ru Darkness would be a pretty decent addition to my collection, but I'm only going to start picking it up once To Love Ru is finished. So yeah, we got that. Next up, we have the highly anticipated Volume 10 of The Ancient Magus' Bride. We've been waiting a brand new arc in the Ancient Magus' Bride story. Very, very excited for this. I cannot wait to see where all this is going to go, where we're going to go from here. We're entering a new era in this story, and it is very exciting. Next up, after a very long wait, it's been a very long time coming, we have Please Tell Me Galko-chan, Volume 5. And I absolutely adore this series. If you aren't aware, if you do not know, this series is in full color, sort of, kind of. It's sort of drawn to make it look like it was drawn with a ballpoint pen. A series of colored ballpoint pens. I love it. I love this artist's work because they are definitely into the thick girls. They definitely like their girls thick. Especially my fucking favorite character, Nikuko. Look at that. Fucking God. Yes. Oh. Fuck. I absolutely fucking love that shit. I live for this shit where a manga author is like, hey, you know what? Fat girls are fucking beautiful. And I'm like, hell yes they are, bitch. I love you. Spiritually linked with you in that regard. I just fucking love it. Next up we have Beauty and the Beast Girl, which is a single volume Yuri, which at the very end the author sort of alludes to, I might write more of this, so maybe we'll see more of this in the future, maybe we might not. We don't know yet because we have no fucking idea. But this was so refreshing because last month we got Now Loading, which was another single volume Yuri, and it just felt like it was just the story about women making games, and the romance was sort of just tacked on. It felt very, didn't feel very genuine, it didn't feel very organic, but this was so fucking cute and wonderful, and I love it. The only thing I wish is that, I discussed this on Twitter, but I wish they went full monster with the monster girl. Like, we live in a post, Venom, post monster fucker world where we know that we want to fuck the monsters. So she looks like a very conventionally cute girl with like cute fuzzy fluffy monster ears and a tail, but they should have gone full monster. I want to fuck me some monsters. Next up, we have the very, very highly anticipated second volume of My Solo Exchange Diary. I fucking love this. I fucking love Nagata Kabi with, like, every fiber of my being. How she just sort of goes into talking about mental health, her own personal struggles with mental health, is really, really cool. And just, we don't have a lot of people who feel comfortable talking about their own mental health and about their sort of just state of mental well-being. And so it's really refreshing to see a story that sort of focuses on, like, hey, sometimes we have really fucking bad days, and sometimes it's all in the fucking, it's all in your brain. I hate what I'm doing, but I can't fucking stop. I absolutely adore this series very, very much. And we also, it's really, really cool because at the very end we actually get this sort of one-shot manga by Nagatakabe, which is really interesting to see in contrast between her sort of very rough style that she uses for her autobiographical work, and beside her sort of one-shot, more serious fictional work. It's really cool. I like it, and fuck, I'm running out of time. Made in Abyss Volume 5, there was no P. Great. Kaze-san Morning Glories. Fuck, I love this series so much. Oh my god. And it's sort of over. This is sort of like the last volume, but like in their high school arc. It says it's going to continue into college, and I really hope it does. I really hope we get more of this, because this is probably my second favorite Yuri of all time, Yuri series of all time. I absolutely love it. It falls perfectly right between like an actual like legitimate romance between two girls and sort of something that's drawn sort of to be like sexually appealing. But it's just, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, and I love it. And please read Kase-san and. Just the Kase-san and series is a delight. Please, please, please. And finally, we have two light novels. We have Toradora Volume 4 and the second omnibus for Boogie Pop. Please read Boogie Pop. It is a fucking masterpiece. It is the light novel that started light noveldom to begin with. Please, please. Seven Seasons are printing this and finishing it up for your reading. And my fucking camera ran out of space. My failure was just a little too long. But yeah, I had to speed through a lot of it. Maybe I'll just talk about Made in Abyss a little more, how it's fucking great, but it throws in so many things where it's all like, hey, you feel uncomfortable? And I'm like, yes, I do, Made in Abyss, thank you. But this one, luckily, was a lot more action than a weird fetishy thing being thrown in randomly. But yeah. That's it for me. I might be filming some other different shit during March. I'm going to try for you, for y'all. But until then, I will see you sexy motherfuckers in the next video. So, bye.